Yeah, we had a
Didn't we also
deadline,
have a
like
deadline?
November something or another, if the crop was late. Just because we all have experienced that in the last 10 years.
Do you think Nicole still has a copy of that?
I'm sure she does. She's very thorough with keeping papers.
Because we spent quite a
If
bit of
not,
time
I've
trying
got
to put
one
that
somewhere
together.
at home.
You mentioned we wanted to look through that and vote on it anyways.
We would have to approve
Well, I understand, so.
after she had her final writing.
All right.
Well, get her ducks in a row here, have her put it together, and we'll have to come back
Approve it.
and, yeah.
Sure.
Hey Jeff,
Before the 22nd.
hey Jeff, I heard the word Tennessee in the, did you say something about tenant, or is it a contract for being a, could that Tennessee, would that give them rights to land in a tenant? You know, like in farming, like you rent land or I rent land, that gives them rights to farm? Or
I
should
never
it be-
heard him say the word tenant.
I
No.
would say this would be a custom operator.
Or
Yeah,
contract?
yeah.
It is just
They're
like-
basically working for us. They're basically working for
Yeah,
us.
contractor, okay.
I mean, as far as
Let's move on.
tenant rights, it really is.
Need,
Non-valuable question.
need to make sure they got at least $1 million in insurance.
I think that was all in there from Cole's.
I'm just going through it, making sure we're,
Yep.
now's the time to brainstorm the stuff back from this spring or winter, when we were discussing this.
Pre-me.
So we're basically working with the last spring's,
We had that all
Notes.
hammered out last spring, and then
Right.
the funding was what
That
was
way we have it
pulled
on
it out
record
from
and
underneath
set it.
us.
Yeah.
okay.
Building off what we had. Or starting
I
where we
would,
left off.
wouldn't you agree with that, though, Mark? I mean, we had that pretty
Yes,
much
we
hammered
hammered
out,
a lot
how it was
through.
gonna be done last spring, we just needed to,
Yeah, we spent, I don't know, 2 or 3 hours here trying to
Yeah.
hammer that out.
yeah. I would say just continue with that, and we've got that all fair.
Yeah,
Dates need to be changed, that's not that hard to do.
But I just wanna make sure we got, while we're all here, let's make sure we got everything kinda rehashed just a little bit.
okay.
Oh,
I mean, the $1 million, I think, needs to be in there, which I believe it was in there in
Yeah.
the first place, but we need to verify that.
if nothing else, I think Jesse probably got it.
Not enough,
I know we had one stumbling block left,
which was,
sale of grain.
Well, it's a custom farm, we're gonna do it, or whoever we're gonna have hired to do it, so.
As far
Pretty
as
much
the
straightforward.
procedure on trying to dispose of, in some respects, dispose of county property. We just have to talk about it, David. It's been brought to our attention, we're just trying to.
like I said at that last one of the meetings, we can put it in a grain bag if that's gonna be the issue, and then you, put it out for bid.
What do you call that, when they come out and picked it up, they had to bring their own?
FOB,
FOB, yeah.
freight on buyer. If that's the way you gotta get around it, that's the way you get around it.
Okay,
I think the bids on the local elevators are worthy of that, but
yes.
there's smarter people than me that are saying possibly not, so.
I think we had it lined out which elevators
Right.
in it listed, and then it'd just be a matter of, I don't know if you do it day by day, call which one's got the best price.
Yeah.
Not that I'm against the back deal or anything like that, but you gotta keep that grain in condition too. I mean,
Well, you wouldn't keep it in there very long, it'd
yeah,
just
I
be,
understand
it'd be like a
that.
10-day thing or something like that, just to jump through the hurdles,
Spend a lot of money for,
10 days.
to me, it's not very responsible, but I understand.
No, I understand, too. I wouldn't want, it's not ideal at all,
Them bags ain't cheap.
no. But I think if we're trying to follow that rule as close as we can, we're just, that day, you're trying to take a bid, and of course it costs to drive to whichever elevator, so that has to be weighed, what that expense is versus, okay, the best price in St. Louis, well, you know, it costs to get there,
You have to put a mileage on it.
right?
Pretty much.
Which I think we kind of,
We had that
We
kind of
had that.
figured in.
Was it Moequa and
10 miles, 20 miles, whatever it is.
It was,
I think
was
it's
it Westerville,
Westerville,
Shelbyville,
Shelbyville,
and
and,
Pana?
was it Painted? Do we have Painted on there?
Yeah, it was
I think
Pana.
so.
Yeah, from there, Pana, basically Shelbyville and Westerville are
Yeah, I
all
think it was-
about the
there's
same
three.
distance, and Assumption
You're
is just slightly lower.
Moequa and Painted ain't the same, are they? And-
Payne is with Assumption Co-op.
So,
Moequa's Legacy, which is Moequa, Stonington, Blue Mountain, and Sharpsburg.
Westerville and Assumption.
Over a certain.
Westerville,
Same.
Assumption, Pana, Okanee,
That's right.
Palmer. I might be missing one, but I don't think so. That's Assumption Co-op, and then I have no idea who the Shelbyville is. I think it's TGM, but
Yeah,
Yes.
which they're
I mean, they've got
they're
lots
huge.
of them,
Yeah,
but the only one within
Yeah,
driving
they-
distance
I think
is,
they've got the Andersons. They bought the Andersons up in Champaign, I believe. TGM did.
yes, they
They've
did.
been buying a lot.
Yeah.
And you discussed like Finley and Cowden because they're owned by the same, but I think in the spring you ruled against that because of the mileage on those two.
That's state and Ohio. Or at least Finley is. Cowden, I haven't a clue.
didn't include Moe either, so. We gotta draw a line somewhere.
Just have to put a mileage on it.
Yeah.
But
I think you're right, I think that's all in there. I just want to make sure it was.
I mean, we'll get a chance to look through this again once, and
Yep.
refresh our memory, but get the ball moving a little bit here.
Kinda got that knocked in the head then. Number 4.
yeah, so you want me to make a motion on the dates?
Yeah, this, we've heard pretty much what we're gonna, had in line before.
So I'll make a motion that we open the bidding on August 22nd and close the bidding September 2nd, which is 2 full weeks.
Do we need to put anything in that motion as far as we're gonna work with our process we had figured out for
Upon approval of.
this
the-
spring,
I
is
guess,
that on the bid aspect of it too,
and then
the
open,
bid package?
Yes, you mean that it come in,
That we use the parameters that we had lined out this spring,
they've got to do 2, because there's 2 of them. Do the 10 selection and do the
procedures, okay, that's fine,
yes,
that's
it's,
fine, we'll do it that way.
I believe it's included in that
Yeah,
packet that we had Nicole.
So I want second that.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I mean, we're really kind of voting on nothing
Yeah.
because we haven't approved the papers.
But I guess as a date, we better have it done, right?
Date to choose.
Then we'll vote on the procedures and selection then.
I'd say we just skip that until we have the,
Yeah.
form in front of us.
Next meeting.
Yeah. We can read through the contract or whatever you want to call it.
Okay, number 5, we got discussion and vote on selection of crop rotation. Open for options. Personally, I run the numbers on, back first part of May, we put the budget together. Believe it or not, wheat and stubble beans is pretty attractive.
I can either hold off till old business, but you did mention, you said we put the budget together. Who's we?
What I presented to the budget committee,
Yeah, but who's we?
me,
You did.
yeah. As department head, that's kind of your
Department head?
It's basically the
Chairman of the committee.
You're chairman of the committee.
Yeah,
So you did that, but we didn't have a meeting on putting the numbers together to put in the budget.
no,
Didn't think that was pertinent.
I don't know.
So if you were a department head, I would understand. But you're not, and we had worked on this last, I believe, September, when we were first working on trying to figure out expenses. In fact, you and I talked about it a lot on the phone, to put it together and bring it before the committee to try to come up with the budget that we would need. None of us, in fact, if I look right now, all I see is a total. I don't see a breakdown of anything.
Here's a run a couple copies.
So there was
There.
no openness on this.
I kind of need them back, so if you want to go run some copies, help yourself.
I will do it here in a little bit. There, I'll just take a glance at it, but at least see what you got.
It's pretty hard to budget something a year out.
Understand, but I didn't know it was a single entity budget. I thought that was for the whole committee to put numbers together. We sat here before and put numbers together
Sure.
for a previous year, but nothing here. And so, in our process of custom farming this, we're approving to do an operation that I don't know who else has seen it. This is my first time. I don't know if anybody else has seen it.
I only saw it in the budget committee.
I don't see it.
There was only 2 other people in that besides the presenters of each department and each committee that presented stuff, and that was Gary and I as the chairman and the vice chair. And that was all that Bellwether wanted there.
I understand that, but I believe it should have came through the committee to examine the budget. And nothing was done. It just got turned in as to one person.
Well, I can't turn the clock back, but like I said, you're more than welcome to go over that.
I know you can't turn the clock back.
You're more welcome to go over that, and if you see any discrepancies in there, let me know.
We haven't approved it yet. If you think there's something that needs to be
Okay.
adjusted, you're the one that's got the problem with it. So if you've got a problem with it, figure it out and tell me what the problem is, and maybe it can be adjusted before we approve the budget.
You said you're having a meeting before the 22nd when your bids go out. You have time to do
Your budget includes taxes, I assume?
Yep.
I'll just give off the things I kind of know. The taxes in the past have been $3,800 for 2021 and 2022.
Well, where'd you get that
The
at?
budget now is $9,000.
3,800, you're a long ways off there, it's
Yeah.
closer to 6,000.
Pushing 7,000.
This is what was given to me in the Shelby County general budget. We all have this. You all have a copy of it.
Taxes
It was
is,
sent out in email.
and in fact, I think it was just a shade over 6,000.
Okay, even if you take that number, why did we go to 9,000?
It's paid the rest of this year's taxes, it's due in September. So the farm's carrying itself.
So they're all going to be in 2023's budget.
Yeah.
Not going to be paid in the present year.
They're not due till September, Mark.
Okay, but 23's budget is after September.
Starts September 1st.
That- Okay, correct. I stand corrected. I was thinking 1st of October. Okay, so then the full 6,000 is going to be due next year in 23?
That I can't tell you, I don't know. If it is, it's covered.
I'm just trying to put why there was $9,000.
That's why.
It sounds to me like it's less. If we didn't pay all of 22's this year,
We paid part of 22's already.
okay, but we're going to pay all of 23's next year as well.
Yes.
Just the first installment,
That's
The
the
second
reason
installment will
9,000
be-
is considerably high.
you're paying the second installment of 22.
You're not going to pay 6,000 and then 3,000.
The taxes for this year total,
60.
roughly $6,000.
Okay, so that's $6,000 in a calendar year, correct?
Well, it depends if you're you're looking at our budget.
in a
year.
budgeted year. That's $6,000 in a budgeted year.
Yeah, but we don't know if next year when the second installment's due. Or we pay it all in the first installment, it don't make any difference.
The way I look at it, we got half again more,
That is to cover the rest of this year's
and all of next year's.
and all of next year's.
That's my point. If you're paying half of it this year, and the second half next year, the same thing follows for next year.
Maybe, when's she gonna send the tax bills out?
Aren't they still due at the same time?
No, they change based on when they come out.
Yep.
Some years they're doing August.
Why wouldn't you
on the
budget
second
to
one,
pay the
some
whole
years are
thing?
September.
I'm just trying to show where, is that's a full year or a year and a half?
It's a year and a half, he just told you that.
Okay, but that doesn't, when you look at the budget, you're expecting, when you look at the previous years, you're expecting it to be somewhat in line.
We didn't have enough money in the budget.
Maybe
to
that's
pay
what
the
they
second
budgeted.
installment.
That's
So why
what-
wouldn't you budget to pay the whole thing?
That's fine, I just need an
Okay.
explanation. It's a
Well,
year and a
ask the
half.
question that you want the answer to. You didn't ask the question you wanted the answer to. So he's got the whole
I
money
did ask
budget to
the
pay all the
question, answer
taxes.
to, David.
So that's the answer. Move on. What other questions do you have?
You're not gonna railroad me into what I'm going to say and when I'm gonna say it.
No, but if you got more questions, ask him.
In this budget here that you just showed me a copy of, you have $115,000 worth of seed, fertilizer, insurance, and chemicals. That broke down in there?
Pretty much, the bottom. Some of that's in, actually, land cost, which includes part of it. Wherever you want to go by there, right there she is. Their custom farming, everything's included in it.
Did FS make this up for you, or did you do this?
No, it's a program that they use, and I got my prices through them.
Okay.
No, I didn't do it.
So you turned it in, you didn't make the budget?
I gave him the numbers put on there, it's his program.
Okay.
I fed the numbers.
In the gross sales, how did you come up with that number, your income?
Took the average bushels and went off for, whatever the board said at that.
Can you tell me what those are?
Yeah. Market price here. Which one do you want to know for? This one's on there.
Well, I got soybeans we're selling right now. But in other words, from the 22 crop.
Wasn't worried about the 22 crop, I was worried about.
That's the income we have that's on the budget, I believe.
That's for next budget year.
It's on the
You're not
23.
gonna have a crop from, you're not gonna have 23's crop revenue in the 23 budget. It'll be in the 23, 24.
I follow you.
Okay.
But the report we got shows we're gonna get the grain after September 1st, the money. So it's got the income on the 22-23 budget.
Yeah.
And it shows the expenses that was in your estimate as the expenses for 22-23 on the report that we got this week.
It says $159,000 for income for the 23 budget, 22-23 budget, 159,000. The market price right now is $13.60 for fall. What's your estimated bushels the acre?
On beans, what I figured out was stubble beans, so naturally they're probably gonna be a little less than what we're expecting this year.
No, I mean this year. We're working with the income for
I
22
didn't
crop.
Mark, I didn't do it on that, I done it for next year's expectations.
Okay.
And I probably goofed up there.
Okay, so the 159,000, anyway,
$14.50 is what I got down on beans. for market price on beans.
for this fall.
That
Okay,
is for
if I take,
fall.
if I just look at today's price, we got $13.60 for fall. What's your estimate for yield?
This year,
Yes.
65 maybe, I mean, that might be on the low side, might be on the high side, I don't know.
Well, I put 55.
Well, that's fine, 55.
That's 748 gross times 199 acres, that's 148,852. Compared to
Said
the,
Mark.
yes, you had a different time period when you took the price, and I do not know what the price was in May when you did it. Okay?
So what are you asking?
I'm just trying to figure out where you got the numbers from. But I don't want to leave here, I can't go over that right now and have the
Well, give it
comparison.
to you, you can make copies of it
Right,
anytime you
and
want.
to have the comparison to approve what we're going to do. So I'm just trying to line it out with our budget. We didn't have a meeting to sit down and look through the budget, okay? Which I feel like we should have. So for next fall, that revenue doesn't show in this budget for 23 because that's 23-24's budget. And at that time period, if you got 200 bushel corn, with the price that was available for fall, it's 139,000. What I'm getting at here is we show $134,000 worth of expense. And if you take the 134 minus the 159 you have, we have $29,000.
Pretty close.
Okay, but this is where everybody has got this out of kilter, is that we're going to really make a lot of money that's been reported. And we're not in that realm.
You're not on
We have to be
the
more realistic.
custom farm.
You have to be more realistic, but what has went out here, other than Mr. Fox is donating this crop, donating all the work and the community, but going forward, we've had a lot of times it shows that people have written that we're going to make $80,000, and we're not. And it needs to be shown what the actual true profit area is, instead of being blown out of proportion. That's why when your expenses were 134,000, I was trying to actually show it being less. Because instead of having a year and a
Compare
half,
apples to apples there, by the time you throw the taxes in, I throw another $10,000 in, to fix the tile and whatever needs fixed out there. So, you know, that's an expense we don't have to have. I mean, so, yeah, I can draw it
I just-
down.
because it was first reported that the budget was 134,000, and the income was going to be 134,000, until the budget kind of got changed and showed more realistic numbers. So that's when I started pursuing, looking, seeing what the expenses were versus the income. Because I knew I had to make something, or something was really out of kilter.
Sure.
And it needed to be out in the open here. We didn't have any meetings to address any of this. I'm done.
I got all tracked there a little bit.
What crops are included in the expense that you turned in for the budget? Just so we know tomorrow, 3 of us are on the budget committee tomorrow, what's in the 159?
I turned one in for corn.
That was for corn, okay. And then the crop will be sold in the following year. So you have a lot of income the following year. You're gonna pay the high expense in one year and
Right.
have the high income in the next year. So it'd be just like farming, it would vary a lot because of the September 1 year end. If you, I can see your doubt over there, but if you pay all the crop expense for corn this year and then you sell corn the following year and pay bean expenses, you're gonna have a lot of income the following year.
It'd be nice for budget year was January 1, would simplify a lot of things here.
Yeah, but it wasn't in the middle of
It's not.
harvest, yeah.
That was the reason for my question, because we were, as you said, you put the income for next year's in this year,
I did, that was my mistake.
and that's where I was trying to line out.
Yeah.
Jeff, may
Yeah, go ahead.
I? As I understand what the discussion is, the revenue number in the budget just needs to be changed to address the revenue from the bean sales,
Yeah,
not corn sales.
right.
That's where I was going with that, Gary, that's why I was confused. 'Cause revenue, if you sell it in this budget year, it's whatever crop you sold. You can't count corn crop in this budget because you don't have it.
But the number he turned in is what the beans would have been back when he made that proposal, because beans have went down a lot in the last 2 months. And if he'd had corn in that proposal, that number would have been considerable higher.
He's got it, he said it just needs to change the bean.
Right, so he can just change it. Like I said, we have a meeting tomorrow, we'll turn it in, so.
I don't work on a budget like that in the mid-year. It's January 1 to January 1,
Yeah.
and
Nobody does.
so,
Strange.
my mistake.
No, it's just the way it is. We work on September year, you work on calendar year, and that's just what
Yeah.
happens, yeah.
And I will say one thing. When Bellwether requested the meeting between department heads and committees that have budgets, it was a very quickly requested meeting. And what was it? They maybe gave us,
3 or 4 days notice.
yeah, from when they requested the meeting, and
Mm-hmm.
it snuck up on, I'm assuming Jeff, where we couldn't have had a meeting for the committee properly anyway. And it was just a budget, is a guesstimate of what your expenses are and income.
Well, I believe, I heard that there was requested a budget about 2 months after it was done, and it's like,
I went to
okay.
the meeting when they was here,
And that was in,
first part of May, I think.
yeah, sometime in May or early June.
I was at a animal
Yeah,
control.
we both had to
End
get
of
up here.
month, so it would have been the
Right.
end of May, because we had animal control and we cut that meeting short to come here, so it had to have been the very end of May,
I believe you're right.
the last few days of May.
So what's the next step here?
If you wanna vote on a crop, basically.
Crop rotation. Where we started.
So you turn the corn into the budget.
Or wheat and beans, they're both very similar.
What did you use? They are. What did you use? Let me see the wheat.
That'd be a combination of them two.
Oh, that's what changed the numbers a lot here.
Yeah.
So,
I'm gonna suggest wheat and bean rotation.
Which would bring the expenses down slightly.
I've never seen
Yeah.
one of these, so it takes me a minute to
I've
do
never seen one.
this, so it takes me a minute to do one of these. So,
Probably the easiest way is read this box here.
yeah. there's
What's the
kind of-
expected wheat yield around these parts of the county?
Well, last year, it depends on when you're able to plant.
Right.
So, 2 winters ago, it was dry, planted, and we were at 100. And then this year, it was closer to 65 because it was muddy plant.
You raise wheat?
Not anymore, but
Okay. I guess I've never raised.
commodity, I mean, it's the weather.
That sounds
independent,
about,
it's-
so say 80 bushel, good?
But at 65, it was the same money
Yeah,
this
I
year.
mean,
So,
just depends on
80,
what-
70 bushels average. I mean,
Yeah, it can run me in 50 to 100.
corn can go from 100 to 250, so I mean, you gotta have a ballpark that you gotta start with. That's why I don't know down this part of the county what,
It depends on. if
We
you
can
get
run.
what
What
you
guess
call,
on
you
our
can't
current
get
bean
the
crops
beans off to
growing?
plant the wheat even, so.
I
Since you've
mean,
been watching it,
yeah, I'd say well, there's parts of that farm that are gonna be wildly different than others. But I'd say an average would be 70 to 75.
You think they'll make that much this year?
I think they will, just because they were planning to get early. So if we get a second bloom, if the rain didn't hurt.
He's the one planting the crop, and he's the one watching the crop for you guys that don't know him.
So if we have the timing and we got the moisture, it's just, who knows what yesterday did. I mean, it laid them down pretty good.
They're coming back, at least mine are.
Yeah.
Yeah, mine are too.
A little worse on the earlier beans, too, that was
So-
heavier.
85, 90 bushel wheat to do a budget with?
We use 70, so.
I'd stay
that's
closer
fair.
to 70-ish.
Okay, see, that's what I'm asking.
Jeff, you by chance have the yield history of the property?
No, I don't.
Okay, I see it right there.
I don't know where, if insurance would release that or not, I'm not sure that,
They can give it to you.
Yeah, they should be able to give you that.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just,
you just can't use it
That would
though.
help, it would help give you an idea of your averages over the years.
So,
Can I get a motion? Or I guess I'll make a
you
motion.
want me to say this first?
Yeah.
No, make a comment on that. We've done some tests on seeding rates, and it seemed like we accidentally put some, and you might comment on that too. The seeding rates, the more, from 2 bushel, well, since that 110 pounds, I made a mistake and got up to 160 in that week, 160 pounds per acre, and that week was considerably higher. Are you seeing
Well,
heavier
it's
plantings?
usually when I go in with the planter, because I use a splitter planter, and so it's 1.5 million seeds is
Yeah,
where I'm
right, it
usually at.
depends on your seed size, but
Yeah,
That's, last time I done 15-inch rows, I was shooting for 1.7 million,
yeah.
and it's,
Yeah, it's hard to get there because you can't count over 1 million, and it doesn't count at all very
And
good,
what is
over
this, like
500,000.
47 seeds per foot or something like that, should be like
Yeah,
that.
I
1.6.
usually just hope I get lucky on the first fill, and if I run out 40 acres, I'm close.
No, I counted.
I still thought you used a grain drill and drilled it.
You're like me.
That's how long it's been, so I've had wheat on our farm.
It's great if you got the time.
Livestock.
With your 15-inch rows, you put any herbicide down in the fall? Any finesse or anything?
Usually we just do, we'll try and get some stuff on in the fall, but we do split application for wheat,
Yeah.
and so half of everything in the fall.
I think our winter annual's probably gonna be an issue out there for a while.
Well, yeah, it probably will be.
we've seen a yield increase on the fungicide even on the wheat, so something to think about.
I'll just move on from there then. I got
What was your numbers?
I mean, for corn, $6 for gross. I just did 200 bushel. I think that's fair. 238.8 just for gross. Which, whatever your expensive is, you can put towards that. For wheat and soybeans, I use 70 bushel for wheat at $8 and 40 bushel for beans at $13. It's $2.15 basically. And for beans, I use $13 again. And I used, let's see what I used. I think I used 60 bushel for those. It's 155. I'll redo that real quick. I think I used 60. Yeah, I used 60, which is fair. I'm sure we can raise 60 bushel beans today. So that's kind of where the gross is. Corn's gonna obviously have a lot more moisture. use their expenses. When this was done, it's probably gonna be high.
What's seed cost for wheat an acre roughly?
$60.
Wheat, the seed cost for wheat an acre,
Oh, it's
$60.
$30 for that,
60? Okay, I have no idea.
58, I think is what I figured it did
I couldn't tell you. So comparable to being seed cost, an acre, wheat is.
Well, and another thing that's probably not in your budget for this wheat bean rotation is, I mean, we could definitely find a buyer on straw. And that's something that, there'll be 400 bales of straw.
I thought about that also.
And it's, I mean, I'm sure our cow farm would probably take advantage of that, whatever the cost is. Take care of all the baling.
Probably the best way to do that, if that be the case, sell it by the ton.
Yeah.
You get that better, I mean,
Is the fertilizer expense being higher worth taking the straw off?
from, on the expenses on there, I figured plenty high, because, after they double in less than 6 months.
I think he's saying that.
For your removal rate,
Yes, that's what I was referring to.
Your soybeans will come up better too if you get that straw off.
a lot better, and they cut hell of a lot easier too.
Exactly.
It's not uncommon practice, Mark, so.
Oh, no,
So I understand where you're going with that line
I
of
know some-
questioning, but
I know some
it's
people
not
don't.
uncommon practice
I know some
for that to
people
be
don't
done.
because they
They're
figure.
concerned
they
about
have
that
more
extra
removal.
fertilizer that's still left in the
Right.
residue and.
Then you looked at 10,000 different ways too. A lot of guys that claim after the first rain, you get rain on the straw, most of your fertilizer's already washed off anyway. So,
Well,
I mean, you can
there's
play
there's that intrinsic of the,
The biggest problem is inconsistency. If you got it spread out on the ground, your no-tills are gonna do as much as they can do. And a lot of times you get patches of stuff that's just laid just right and your no-tills will pop out. Then you're not getting your seed at the same depth and your emergence is uneven.
Yeah, I just write down muddy under that straw, literally in the spring. Like if there's no tilling in the wheat stubble.
wheat ground just never did dry out like it should anyway.
Okay,
Just thinking from fertilizer aspect.
okay. So, just profit, well, taking custom expense out of it, whatever you're gonna pay the operator, is corn's 95,928, wheat and beans are 65,987, and beans itself is 104,587.
Now, did you figure wheat and stubble beans are just,
70 bushel for wheat and 40 bushel for beans.
okay, you got
$8 and $13. That's roughly where they're at.
Another reason for buying the wheat too is, I mean, there's some pile work that needs done, obviously, and then makes it perfect timing with wheat. You can't, well, I won't say you can't, but it's pretty far and few in between getting anybody in there in fall. I mean, they're all busy, we all understand that, but
A lot of that ground never dries out enough except during that time period.
I used to
Exactly.
throw- I used to throw them over.
and we'd probably gain, what do you think, Gary, 10 acres?
10 to 15, I'd say, that we couldn't disc that hadn't been farmed 2 years
I
ago.
did throw them over.
And
for wheat.
it all got farmed other than 2 spots about the size of this courtroom. So yeah, I'd say there's 10 to 15 acres to gain by spending a little money on fixing some drainage, because there's definitely tiles problems on both sides of that tree line. And that one terrace doesn't drain at all. You can't farm like half of that one terrace on the east So that's expensive.
It's not cheap property.
It's
It's high.
I thought he used the wrong number, but I didn't.
It's very,
Yeah, we, not that.
I thought I used the wrong number. I
it's
thought
high
I used the
management anymore.
700
We
number.
was become a high management property.
So, I apologize. I did use the right number. So if that's kind of what I got for net, then whatever you take out of that for, I assume when you bid it, when these people that are gonna bid it, I assume they're gonna bid a total they want to custom farm it. I assume that's how that works.
Yeah, that as per pass, I mean, I kinda like to do it, it's just me. But you could do it by crop too. That's putting it in, taking it out, whatever happens in between, one set price. Or you could break it down into, but do we wanna manage that hard?
I mean, I assume if you're having them
I mean, if
bid
you,
it, I assume they're gonna put what they think all their expenses together are, and
It's all in one, wouldn't it?
that's what they'll bid
The
as.
only thing I think we talked about differently was.
I wasn't here for that conversation, so.
Okay.
I wasn't in the committee.
I think we decided it was easiest to just do the all-in-one. The only exception was, if we had a wet harvest, let's say this
Yes,
fall,
yeah.
where it would require an extra working of the,
To get some ruts out.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're gonna require the tenant or the operator to fix those before it's turned over to the next?
We would
person?
pay him to fix it, but we would
Okay.
want it fixed
Okay.
before the next tenant came in,
Oh,
just
yeah.
because.
That's
Or
what
if the new
I
tenant wanted to pay, do it. I mean,
Yeah,
it's,
I mean,
it just needs to be taken care of.
Yeah.
And it's a cost to us
Right.
to get that,
yeah, because we're
because it's not really on it, it's whatever.
It's really our expense one way.
Yeah.
or the
picking a
it's
new
expensive.
operator, you're basically picking a new operator or a new year,
other. Yeah,
and they don't know what condition the land's gonna be in when they take it over.
true.
What they're putting a bid in for not knowing what they're gonna have to do.
So if there's something that needs fixed in the fall, that wouldn't be included in their
No.
bid price, it'd just be extra to have to fix.
Well, they would technically, we figured it out because we overthought it. Technically, it would be just like a replant situation.
Okay.
We argued about that for the longest time, and finally the light bulb went on to, okay, so if they have to go in and replant, we pay them what they said they were gonna do it for the first time.
yeah,
Yeah, that's fair.
it's broken down, I mean.
Yeah, and it's the same way if there needs to be a pass in the fall to, as a vertical till or something to clean up some ruts. Whatever your
Numbers there.
vertical till cost was, it was getting.
There's a lot of skip chickens there.
Well, and
Spring is what you pay it for, and
This fall.
I was listening, I can just kinda
it might
tell
be
Yeah, that was
beneficial
corn and
to really
the
tear
other
it
one was
up,
wheat and beans and
just
bottom was
because
just
of
wheat.
the problems we had with winter
That's
rains
all
this
this
year.
just off his numbers he has there for income. Well,
So your
I use more.
Your
The
total
date
is
for corn is this,
this one.
and wheat and beans is this, and beans is this, and $13 at 60 bushel, and 13 at 40 bushel. Yeah, this could be a lot higher,
We need this to do the work, but it doesn't.
so I mean, that's just where I thought I used the wrong number for expenses for wheat, but I didn't. I thought I used the 700, but I didn't. I mean, I never planted wheat, so I don't know.
It's been a long time since it was the old drill then, so.
Sounds like
They're not even controlling it, this is drill.
Anyways, that's kind of where we're at. So I don't care what you guys decide, what we decide.
Okay, looking at those numbers and talking about having the weed in there so we can do that tile work and all, you'd be better to do the other plan and just go in during the crop and do what you had to. Maybe destroy a little bit of crop where you gotta go, because those numbers show that you're better off.
Where's the tile run?
Huh?
Where's the tile run?
No, I mean, to go in and do the tile work you wanted during the growing crop. If you damage a little bit, you still might be, according to that, you'd still be ahead on the numbers to.
I've seen
to go what? What are you saying to go to? My question is, what are you saying to go to? Corn, beans?
Whatever you say.
If the 65,000 versus 95,
Yeah, wheat
and
and
104, you'd be better to do one of these two options and still go in the middle of the summer when that's the only time it's dry.
I'm not following.
And cut your,
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. What work were you thinking about? I mean, I don't know, but I'm just asking.
As far as,
Just land management work. Was it water waterways that need work, or is it
Waterway
tile?
tile.
Okay, okay, well, definitely could do the waterway.
If,
Yeah, I mean, there's a big
if them
difference.
terraces need cleaned out, I mean, once you plant a crop, in,
Yeah, the
clean
terrace is kinda hard to do.
You just,
But I think there's some people I could probably put you in touch with to do that as well. A few of them. I don't know.
So you're saying you're leaning more towards corn, is what you're saying?
Yeah.
When was last?
The areas,
Do you know when last time there's a corn crop on it?
year before last, half of it.
20, it was split 50-50.
Oh, it's split it, okay.
20 had half, last year, of course, nothing.
Yeah, right.
So we're sitting 2 years out at minimum on corn, on half, at least half of it, 3 years on the other half.
I'm
the
not scared
areas
to go
that need
bean.
work are probably not producing much anyway, so if you put wheat and beans in it, it's really not gonna affect the overall that much. So if you do that work, to go in there and do your strips like you were waterway or put some tile
There's
in.
some of it anyway. And maybe get him to come back or however, I don't know, but, I'm not against doing beans, on beans,
No, not either.
I do it. I've got a feeling I'm gonna do it for 4 years in a row, so. I'm not against it.
I'm
It pays
look to
its
this
own
young
way.
man here. Weed control so far this year has been pretty good,
Well, that's,
It started off not great.
but you got it managed now
We
pretty
got
well.
it under
You
control.
know, looked good last time I saw it.
that might be another reason, maybe to run corn, you can get a little more aggressive.
That's what I was going at
Yeah,
there.
if you run
I
corn, you
figured
could,
that was soon
you
as
could
that.
run a chisel through it and it wouldn't hurt anybody.
Yeah.
Kind of give you a fresh start on that piece of ground. The 1 year it didn't get farmed really, I mean, it wasn't good for it.
And we're gonna pay for that for a long time.
Yep. It'll take a lot of care.
And the ground owner north of there said when you do the waterway, he'd like to participate and do his at the same time. Because he drains down across us and his needs work, ours needs work.
Perfect.
And he was there when we were there. I guess he came over when we were there, and that's what he said. When that waterway gets done, he would like to know and participate at the same time.
So if you do corn, do you guys feel like we'd still be better ahead?
Yes.
But better hand
If
of
we went corn, we'd still be better ahead revenue wise and still do some of that work?
I mean, I think corn and beans, it looks like to me, are pretty much similar, depends on how the yield.
But compared to the wheat, in other words, I was
Yeah,
about throwing out the wheat thing.
I don't know what everybody's in. I know Jeff's in favor of wheat and beans. I don't know.
That's my thoughts, I mean, tell me what you think.
Brian, what's your thoughts? Hate to put you on.
Well,
I'm just
I'll-
asking your
yeah.
opinion. I'm not,
I-
that's fine, I'm just asking.
I am a novice when it comes to wheat. So wheat to me is a novice crop. I can't answer a lot about wheat. Now you talk corn, soybeans, I can sit here and discuss everything about that all day long, all day. When you throw in the wheat, I'm not one to be asking questions on that. I know it's a more of a, become more of a high maintenance or high, not maintenance, it's not the-
Management.
high management, thank you.
And those guys get 100 bushel wheat, but boy, it comes at a cost.
Yes.
Stu's done a lot of that.
Yeah. So I can't answer what I feel. I mean, the numbers, I mean, there's nothing like seeing a beautiful wheat crop out there on certain rolling ground.
Yeah, I agree.
But does the numbers say that or not? I can't answer that. Is there a benefit to that soil to have wheat on it this year, this coming year? My thought process would be you'd want to throw corn at it probably, if it's anywhere close to being the same, just so you can throw out stronger chemicals to get the weed issue under control. But I don't know. I mean,
Yeah,
Jeff?
yeah. Can I say something?
Yeah.
You go eat anymore? Very idle. I mean, growing down south of town and farming home, I mean, man, a lot of wheat down there, year and year and year, then we just eventually kind of got away from it. Well, we start factoring in, it's no money, it just,
You can.
you know, know, 50, 60 bushel a week, 3.5 a bushel. And, I mean, I don't know, I drove wheat a few years ago just so I could do some dirt work that summer. And other than a few livestock guys that haven't used to do it, they got to spread manure in the summer. But, my gosh, wheat acres, you know, are just
Well, in our,
way down.
in the north part of the county, the wheat acres have increased exponentially.
Really?
Legacy Grain has taken in, I think they took in almost 160,000 bushel of wheat this year.
So there's been demand up there and people have been growing it.
Yes.
I've always said growing as a kid, especially on this, what I call poor ground, 3-crop rotation is good. We used to put clover in it and moldboard it under, but, I don't know, it just kind of got, you know,
Yeah.
poor ground stuff, wheat's good. There's something said about a rotation, but like everything, every action, there's a reaction. But I ain't planning on growing any, of course, I'm retiring, but, you know, last year was a good year of good wheat.
If you were ever going to think about,
Bushel. But, you know, think about wheat, and that is grown everywhere in the world, and I think somebody's harvesting wheat down there every month of the year. Somewhere, there's grain coming in.
Germany grows wheat like we grow corn.
Yeah.
They grow 300 bushel a week.
Well, Australia, lots of wheat, it's just, but, you know, there's droughts.
and the flip side of this whole conversation is,
Bombings.
if you're going to ever think about putting in wheat, this is the year to put it in. Because historically, I think you plant wheat behind soybeans. So the entire thing's in soybeans. I mean, that could play a role into this
Well,
conversation too.
another thing to consider, I mean, if you don't want to tear everything up after this harvest, I mean, wheat is one of the best weed controls. If you get it 8 inches above the ground, you're not going to be battling anything.
And the good part about it is, well, I'm looking at it too, this late flush after put stubble beans in it, you knock everything down now, I mean, you're pretty much got it whipped as far as weed control. Weed control, stubble beans is relatively easy anymore. It ain't near like it used to be. Hopefully that'll keep a good flush of winter annuals down too as well.
Well, we wouldn't have to put out a winter spray then.
Yeah.
Erosion, a lot of pluses. What is July 23 wheat next time? I don't know, probably.
I can look here.
Unfortunately, I don't have that on my quote list.
I probably wheat this spring when it got so crazy, but
Yeah, I'll tell you here in a second.
I don't know, you can get $9, $8, I just don't have to.
I'm going to say it's pushing $10.
It's 8.11 right now.
8.11?
July 23.
Well, I know old crop, that shit dropped, I think almost $5 a bushel.
It did, it was upwards in the 12 range, it's 7.62.
Yeah, so that's got.
Well, the basis has went to hell.
Yeah, probably too.
I think our local elevator's a negative 150 on basis on
Well, it's pretty easy to sit here and talk about next year's. We have no freaking idea where we're gonna be at on anything.
Right.
No,
I agree.
It's too volatile now.
I agree.
the longer we've talked here,
You're gonna plant wheat, ain't
yeah. I mean, I'm leaning more towards wheat for numerous reasons here.
They didn't go to Florida for 8 months.
Yeah, all right with me.
I just like to get out of the homestead for one day. I think I'm kind of leaning towards wheat now.
But there just never was much money. I mean, compared, I was in debt trying to make it work, and, I mean, beans and corn was the way to go back then.
Make sure.
I don't know.
Plant the beans pretty heavy, don't that you think, Jeff?
I was just going
Plant
with
the
revenue
snow
dollars
here.
here.
That's what I started at as
Plant a
well.
little heavy.
Oh,
I mean, there's all,
I do understand the wheat thought process too. Do you buy much wheat or? It's outside my box, I don't know.
I've seen, it's surprising, I've seen more weed up in Plain County
Yeah,
than
when I
I've seen
the split over.
in Shelby County
Yeah,
here this last year.
Yeah.
I was surprised that
Make the $12 a week, got people excited maybe.
they hadn't did the right thing, I guess. That was rolling ground.
Sure.
And to try to calculate what's gonna be the best money next year, I mean, throw a dart.
Yeah.
I mean, it's as big a crapshoot, you know, we're
These-
just 6 weeks away from start planting in South America, in Brazil, and
I guess,
middle of September.
yeah, we got the revenue side of it, but probably the other side is how well we can weed control to try to get back. I don't know which way that is, whether
And
that's wheat or
straw,
corn.
like I said with the straw, that'll be 8 to 10 grand.
There's something else to look at.
It's not a lot, but it's something.
I guess in my opinion, just from sitting it idle for a year, I think beans probably should be out. Just a straight crop of beans.
I would agree with that.
I think you'll just fight it and fight it,
Yeah,
let
yeah,
water
different
catch
chemistry.
the walls of it personally.
Skipping the wheat and going straight to beans is
Yeah,
Just a bean crop for next year, I think, personally, I don't think would be-
It's a viable option.
Yeah, I just think the weed control would just be absolutely horrendous.
So you're down to now wheat.
Either
Or
wheat and
corn.
beans or corn, I think, personally, those two options, I think, in my opinion. I'm not scared of planting beans on beans and do it myself, but
maybe you should
never
have
had one lay idle either, so.
one of them done too, but
It's same
I never-
figures, you just gotta change the bushels, so it's not a big deal.
that I don't do too long. Beans on beans.
Yeah. It's not that big a deal. I do it a lot different than most, so it's not.
I guess we-
me to speak for.
do we have the return on the investment? The corn bean or wheat beans rotation that we do with the corn, I guess? Or is this just gonna be a transition year?
You guys don't understand your questions, can you say it again?
Your return on investment, in other words, the inputs from,
Yeah,
less
okay.
the revenue there.
Okay.
We've looked at the revenue side of it, we kind of did on the expense, but I don't know if I don't think you have a total for expenses on,
For corn, there is.
but for the wheat and the beans.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a total.
There is.
There is, okay.
It's all, I did both of those there,
Okay.
so.
Oh, that was the ending number after that.
That's right.
Okay,
That's
gotcha.
right, yep, yep.
I'm sorry.
No, that was fine.
I had a gross sales number in there for some reason.
And I guess,
I'll make the motion to go wheat and beans.
okay,
You can get a second, or that's fine too. Go a different route, or I don't care.
I'll second it. We'll just get a vote. If it goes, it goes. If it doesn't,
I'm fine with that.
we'll go to Plan B. The only reason we've really got to pick anything right now is because of that wheat and that,
right,
If
and
we-
plus they need to know what they're bidding on,
right.
what product.
Correct.
I think it's fair.
And our insurance.
The insurance statement I was trying to come up with. Well, like I said, initially I was pushing more corn, but the more I sat here and listened to the good dialogue, the benefits I think are there for wheat now. Like I said, especially with it coming out of, if you go corn and you don't have this, you can't really talk about this wheat for 2 more years down the road. I think the timing is right at this point. And I think there's going to be some benefits.
And it's
I don't,
not to keep dragging on, but as good as stubble beans has been here lately, I mean, it's practically 2 crops in 1 year. So,
yeah.
You guys had your inputs to where, part of your budget numbers, you're gonna go with another option,
It should be all relative.
I mean, sorry, I don't know what budget numbers you put in. Just- you're gonna
It's
add-
all going to be, it should be relative. I mean,
Okay.
We
your
have
seed
no-
cost's going to be lower on wheat than your corn.
Right.
Your chemical, there really isn't,
I
chemical
guess-
costs, I don't believe in
I
wheat.
don't know.
can be,
I mean, very little, yeah, well, the chemical costs, I guess, would be your fungicide you should apply.
well, that or maybe finesse down. Depends.
But it's going to be less than probably a corn
Oh,
crop.
yeah, definitely.
Your fertility program's your fertility program. It is what it is. I assume you fertilize wheat almost like you do to some extent corn, so that's a wash.
Yeah, I tell you, it's not as cheap as it was 25
Right,
years ago.
so
It's
that's a
like-
wash.
it requires
So
a
it's
bit of
all
PK
relative.
and it
Yeah,
becomes
I understand what
nice.
you're asking, but it's relative.
So, those in favor of wheat and beans, say aye.
I say no.
Is that aye?
Oh, I didn't hear you. I was waiting on your vote.
I just wait. I just whichever one you guys want. I mean, I understand both ways, so.
You know, we just visit this seat next year and I'll tell you if we did the right decision or not.
Yeah. All right. Let's see them
And whole business, new business.
I think we all got a letter from Shelby County. And said, looked like the farm's in good shape, beans are good. Sounded like the chemical program, I think he stated that at the beginning was maybe a little lax, but looked like they kind of cleaned it up.
Turned all dry on us too, that did,
Yeah, it's just part of,
not the only ones.
yeah, that's just part of the farm, so. Yeah, everything all along looks pretty good, I think, so.
I'll get ahold of Nicole then, have her, the, agreement we had going the last time, and we'll just build off of that, and we'll get the bids out, we'll be good to go. I'll wait till next week, I was gonna say insurance,
Yeah, we'll figure that out once we.
yeah, I'll wait on that till next meeting. With that, I'll entertain the motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
You gotta say that, not me.
And I can't write and talk at the same time.